need is your DNA, the nanotechnology to inject into you. They prefer to inject it, and then some asshole to put you on the list.
Yes. And it's quite possible that other family members, like my father and his wife, became targeted because they both worked at IBM in the International Research Department.
Yeah,
And my father had some ideas that were stolen from him, and then actually one is trading on the stock exchange, and it's not under his name. So there's a theory that it could have been, I'm not going to say generational, but they just kind of keep an eye on the offspring of maybe an original person that's been targeted. It just seems like these groups of people are following us through our entire lives.
yeah, I agree with that.
So
So, how did you first? How did you? How did the manipulation, the coercive control that they were doing? What was like an indicator to help you figure out that you were
that
targeted?
was targeted.
Yeah.
Um, well, the primary thing was going to law enforcement, filing incident reports, getting them through a FOIA request, whatever, and then being empty, negating my experience, lying that my house was not broken into. Um, there were just too many horrific events, one after the next after the next.
Yeah.
It was too much. It was not statistically possible for my regularly normal life to be going bonkers for no obvious reason. Um, I was an adult learner. I went to get my undergraduate and graduate degree. All of those certifications that you mentioned there, mostly in my adult life, in my 40s and 50s. And
Okay.
so putting my daughter through school and as a divorced single mom, um, I believe that there were a lot of people that were envious and jealous. I even had people question me, like, how can you live in that house if you're divorced? Well, I was working four jobs at one time, and I wasn't doing all the things that the local women were doing. I wasn't going to get my hair done. I would cut my own hair, dye my own hair. I was painting my own walls, things like that. So I had people questioning me through the legal system. Obviously, there was so much coercion, so much control, to the point where the primary law firm that I hired, after 3 years, I still wasn't divorced. They financially raped me about $54,000. And then,
Yeah. That's part of it.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and then I had to hire another law firm who literally said to me, "Your divorce was so easy. I don't understand what took them so long." Um, so that was a situation. And then of course when the property vandalism started. For instance, I'm a gardener. I had a beautiful, 5-bedroom home. Probably the largest on the block. I had the most beautiful landscaping, but so suddenly a tree would fall. Branches would start falling off. Fell over my fence. I mean, just bizarre stuff. It wasn't happening to anybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody else's trees were so overgrown and so not maintained, and mine were. Like, I hired a professional tree guy that would come every 3 years and top off my trees, but my trees started to collapse. My
Yeah.
trees started rotting out. Literally every tree on my property fell, that I had to take care of. And then shrubs would disappear. And then I would find all my bulbs would disappear. And I mean, it gets so bizarre. I realize that this is a psychological operation, that somebody's doing this. They're moving people in next door to me to surveil me. And I'm
Yep.
thinking, this is nuts. Like, what is this about? I did not know it was a game. I didn't know it was a
Yep.
program. I didn't know that I was being surveilled. Interiorly in my home, I had really bizarre things happen inside the house, like bugs, like insects crawling across my floor that appeared to be human, like understanding what I was doing. And like
Yep.
when I try to get them, they would disappear and I'd never find them again. I'd have unusual patterns appear on my windows in threes. And by the way, I have photos of all this stuff.
Yep, I do too. I have videos actually because I'm
Yes.
like, this is not normal. They're doing some holographic
Yes.
psyops thing, and yeah, so the best thing that you can do, I think, is take
Evidence.
evidence of it. Yeah,
Evidence, exactly. So, what was happening is when I was filing police reports, they weren't taking me seriously, even with proof, even with eyewitnesses. So they weren't even documenting that. And my mother hired a private security firm to come and sweep my home, and they wouldn't even speak in my home. They wanted to talk to me outside. They told me to not call the police. They kind of intimated that they knew it was happening, that it was considered like a real estate mobbing thing, that they were trying to push me out of my house while keeping me there at the same time.
yeah,
Asset stripping me. It was like that song, shall I stay or should I go? And they would not let me go. They literally prevented me from selling my home, blacklisted my home for 3 years until I hired like an ethical person who
right.
sold my home fairly quickly. And guess who I sold it to? So it was sold to a cop. They're all in on it. And the
Of
reason
course, they wanted your house, so
they wanted my
pushed
house.
you into selling it. Yeah,
Yes. Meanwhile, my former residence is going for close to $900,000 now. It's a highly desirable neighborhood, and through Google search and stuff, they pretty much they got my house. They didn't do that much to the outside of it. They kind of kept it as it was. But yeah, they were mobbing me out of my home while preventing me from selling it, asset stripping me to a tune of $300,000 in property vandalism. Then they coerced the insurance company by calling them into the Malibu Police Department to discredit me and tell them to not pay my claim and to drop my insurance while I'm selling my house.
wow,
So that's what they did.
yeah,
So there's nothing more coercive than having a police department co-opt your insurance company to not pay your claims, discredit you, and then gaslight me about my house not being broken into when I had clear evidence that it was. I even had a tree guy pull me aside when I showed him what was happening to my property.
yeah,
He says, he says, he says, you're too smart to be living here. You really need to move. And then he told me a story about an Asian couple in Lakewood, New Jersey, which is a very Hasidic neighborhood, very insular that way. Well,
uh-huh,
this couple decided to move there and start a business. Well, they were gang stalked to the point where they were getting microwaved. First, the husband dies of cancer, then the wife dies of cancer, and they got what they wanted. They got rid of them.
yep,
So he told me this story. He says, you need to move. He said, I've seen this before. I see what they're doing to your trees. I see what they're doing to your landscaping. He didn't say that I was being gang stalked. He didn't say that. He just said, you need to move and get out of here as soon as possible.
yeah.
So,
Because then you would have been next. Like they would have killed me if I would have stayed at the condominium that I had to sell. That all of this stuff was happening to.
yes.
And I also told the cops, just like you, but the cops are part of the program. And so I'm sorry that happened to you because I know exactly how that feels.
It's horrible, especially since I had lived there so long and I put my heart and soul into that house. Not only with my ex-husband, like we did everything ourselves. We're not rich people, We did everything ourselves. Like I laid every one of those stones. Oh, I wanted to tell you, this is how they gaslight you, make you look crazy.
Yep.
So I had all these ornamental stones in my yard, which was perfectly landscaped. Well, my grass starts dying out. This is sod. We're talking about sod, and I have what do you call it? A water
Sprinkling system?
The sprinkler system.
Yeah.
My sprinkler has kept dying. They kept breaking, even though they were brand new. So every year I'd have to replace them all over again. Well, all my ornamental stones disappeared. It's like, where did they go? They just like vanish into the soil. So I'm cleaning up in the yard, and I'm cleaning a corner of my yard. and I'm moving stuff around because it just seems like it's elevated. Like, how did it get so elevated there? I move the soil away. I start digging, and all of my rock is buried in the corner of my property, raising up my property by a couple of feet. I didn't understand how it could happen. I mean, it's like cognitive dissonance. You have no idea. Like, I know how I leave my house in the morning. I know what I do.
Exactly.
Who
Yep.
thinks of these things? That
Yep.
somebody's creeping into your yard and burying your ornamental stones in the corner of your property to elevate the land there to prevent the water from draining to the street. That's what they were doing. They were creating a water situation.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly what they're doing here in rural Kentucky.
All while you were sleeping. They like to do it at night, just like
Yes.
they put up the Gwyn towers while everybody was
Yes.
quarantined in their homes, that are the 5G is what's killing everyone.
Exactly.
But they do that shit while you're sleeping.
Exactly. And you know, I can tell you that my security cameras would catch the sound. And this is why I not only like the visuals and the motion sensor, but I like the audio. And this is what happened with the audio. And of course, I would already be tucked in bed. My doors would be closed with furniture in front of the doors. I wasn't going to get up and start opening everything up. And by the time I did that, whoever was out there would be gone, right? Because they were likely cloaked. So this is what I would hear. I'm going to demonstrate it for you. Somebody would be outside and they would be working either in my yard or on my driveway, because they literally cracked my new asphalt driveway in half and sanded the line that they cracked to make it look old. I mean, I spent $4,000 on resurfacing that driveway, and they cut it in half. So my security cameras would hear this noise, and it would be like a tap, 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 and then it would stop. It's like it didn't want to wake the neighbors or alert the neighbors to something going on outside. So they were doing something to damage my property by working outside in the dark at night, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it would be tap, 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 tap. It would stop, and it would start all over again. I mean, I would stay awake listening to this. And it could go on for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think when they were doing that stuff to my condominium that they cared, because it literally sounded like an auger. Like they were like tunneling or, using an auger underneath my condominium. It raised the floor about an inch. And I had the bug problem too. Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention that I still have that little error message that's covering your face. It says you aren't being recorded. It looks like refreshing didn't help. Let's troubleshoot. I've already been there and it cuts me off. So as long as you hear me, it could be that my face is not being recorded, because I see that I'm a little bit blurred out in the background.
Okay.
So just give you a heads up on that.
Okay. I think it's recording.
Okay.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. Well, you have quite a large amount of accomplishments. And I think part of the targeting that they do is if we're intelligent enough to figure it out or speak against the establishment, is what I call them, which are the elites running this program, because people are being paid to do it. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you're obviously have a degree in psychology and from Cornell, and what does the other acronym stand for?
The Cornell is the human resources. I received
okay.
Yeah. But I went to Walden University, so that's where I received my master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
The master's degree was in psychology with concentration in health, and then the undergraduate degree, the concentration was abnormal, deviant, and violent psychology with a concentration in addictive behaviors.
Yeah. So you know when you're being gaslit, basically.
Absolutely, and I think one of the only things that gets me through this is I understand personality disordered people, and not that anybody wants to work with them because it's they're. I understand narcissism, psychopathy. I actually wanted to work in the criminal justice system, working with the serial murderers. I mean, and I thought, well, maybe that's not a good idea as a divorced single mom,
Right.
So, but, I've read lots and lots of historical information on the people that are actually targeting me.
Right.
Although, that gives me some, I'm not going to say protection because I'm not protected, but
Right.
I think they know that about me, which is why my targeting is so severe.
Right.
I was speaking to somebody just before we spoke, and who's been to my house in New Jersey, has seen the vandalism. I still send photos of what's happening to me here, and it's really off the charts. It's completely off the charts. To cut a triangle in my forearm through my clothing. There's no damage to my clothing.
Yeah.
But they cut a 1-inch triangle to traumatize me. They burned a hole in my cat's face. This is here in rural Kentucky.
Yeah.
Jackson County. The target is off the charts. I literally have, and my subscribers have actually seen these people through my videos because they have different. I have military guys contacting me that are targeted. Okay?
Yeah.
And they tell me what's happening on their property. They tell me what's being done to mine after viewing my photos and stuff. And they say I've got 2 military guys cloaked on my property all the time. So that, like, I'm in one building and they're running around my property in the background doing horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine living in your home knowing that you've got a shadow. I'm not just talking about shadow government. I'm not talking about little people shadowing me on my property.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about the cloaking, because I knew that they were doing that at the condominium that I lived in as well.
Yes.
And if people aren't aware that the government has this type of technology, I'm not sure what to say to them at this point. But I know it exists, and obviously you know it,
Yes.
it does, and you've heard from your military targeted, because there are military people that are targeted too, that they have these cloaking clothing.
Yes.
I don't know what else you would call it.
Blankets, clothing. The thing with these people is they do leave impressions in the snow. You can hear them. Infrared cameras will pick up their halos and shadows and stuff, but living in an environment like I'm on the edge of a national forest, so obviously they can blend in anywhere here.
Yeah.
I don't think that they were able to do it as easily in New Jersey because I live so close to other people.
Yeah.
That they use different techniques on me in New Jersey, where here it's like a freak show here. And of course it's designed to make me look delusional and crazy and stuff, but I can assure you that I've got so much evidence of these people, and I thank my subscribers for finding these people. Somebody contacted me privately and says, I see 2 guys. One is crouched down low, one is standing against your building, and the one crouched down low is in the process of standing up. So, and that's one person. I've had 3 people contacted me so far, different people, about the 2 guys on my property, that they're afraid for me. So
Yeah. Do you carry a do you have a gun?
I'm not gonna. I won't say.
Okay.
But I hope that this is recording, because I intentionally, when I applied some makeup today,
Yeah.
I deliberately did not cover the burn mark on the middle of my forehead.
I see that.
Can you see that?
Yep. And it's a perfect symmetrical burn mark.
Yes. I had one here, and I don't know if you can see any of the marks of my ears, what they've done to my ears.
So
I deliberately did not apply face anything to cover it up. I wanted it seen.
yeah, which I'm glad you did that, because people need to realize that they can drug you and do experimentations on you or burn you like that, and then when you wake up you don't know what they're doing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's it's a game for some people. It's a program. The elites. It's like an octopus of organized crime.
Absolutely. I call it a spider web, but yes,
Yes.
it's very much an eight legged beast.
Yes. And I feel like a lot of what's happening to me, and when I mention it, other women are coming forward and saying that yes, this is happening to them also. I believe it's satanic ritual abuse and trauma-based mind control combined with satanic ritual abuse. I have too much witchcraft, both in New Jersey and here in Kentucky, between what they do to animals, uh, triangle pieces of glass left everywhere, string, rusted screws, rusted nails on a property I've lived in. I've cleaned this property from top to bottom so many times, but I keep finding triangle pieces of glass in places that I walk all the time. In New Jersey, I was concerned with why my property wasn't selling. It was a beautiful house. So I looked online because I kind of was picking up that there was some witchcraft involved, some kind of a
Okay.
curse. So I found out through a witch forum that there are curses that people place to not sell a property, and they go to the four corners of your property. So it was easy enough for me to do in New Jersey. I went to the four corners of my property and I just started digging, and lo and behold, I'd found rusted screws, nails, leaves, hawthorn berries, string, little pieces of metal, in all four corners and in the dead center of my property. Then they were taking, and I have photos of this, videos of this, they would take Y-shaped branches, twigs, and stick them at the base of all of my shrubs. Like when I would go cleaning underneath, like the mulch and moving, I would find these Y-shaped twigs stuck. Like they were trying to kill,
Yes.
trying to destroy, cursing my shrubs and my plants. And I would pull them out, and there would be like 33 of them. Um, and I just heard today that in New Jersey, 66 stores are closing down. 66. And yesterday, when I went to bed, my remote control for my heating, which I have set to a certain degree, said 66.
Right.
So somebody reset my remote control to 66. And then in New Jersey, they're closing 66 stores. I mean, this is all, I don't know if it's a psyop. It's all, what's the expression? It's for eyes, it's right in front of you for eyes to see.
Yep.
Something like that. Like they place the truth in front of you for eyes to see. But they think that we're stupid, we're sheep, or, you know, whatever it is that they consider us to be, tools.
Yes.
So, but, and as far as the coercive control goes here, in Kentucky, the same thing happens. As soon as I placed my property for sale, I had crazy people calling the realtor saying, well, you can't sell that property, it was promised to me, threatening her, whatever. And it turns out she did absolutely nothing to sell my property. And then I tried to do the for sale by owner, and now Zillow is involved. They coerced Zillow to not allow me to list my property for sale, saying that, well, because you're zoned agricultural. Well, there are 11 agricultural properties for sale right now on Zillow in my town.
Yes.
11.
This is the power. This is how much power these people have. Like they have so much money and so much power to do this program, and the only word that comes to my mind is evil.
Evil.
It is so
Yes.
evil and
Evil.
clandestine that it's
Yes.
just it's hard for people to wrap their heads around it when you don't
Yes.
think that way, right?
That's exactly right. And one of your questions was about, like, what did you learn that you would tell your former self or whatever. It's like, I
Yes.
never ever knew what evil was. I really didn't think it existed. I knew that there were bad people. Bad people do bad things. But I could not understand or comprehend the level of depravity, sadism, voyeurism, and evil that encompasses this program, and that the fact that in some circles they call it a game. It's like
Yeah.
I had
If
somebody tell me that it's like a game of chess.
yes, it's like the Hunger Games. That's how I've explained it before.
Yes. It's just, and so
So
many people are so unaware that it's actually happening. And you know, I keep abreast of the targeted people in the community who's posting videos and stuff, but I also listen to other channels, you know, homesteading, gardening, and all that stuff, and I see stuff that they're not seeing. In the background, like, there's one guy in New York, every time he gets on his live, there's a foghorn in the background. And granted, he's in New York, but you're hearing a foghorn every time you're live. Um, Sirens, and granted, in New York City there are sirens, but every time he's live,
exactly.
and people don't realize that they're targeted, and homesteaders are getting on about these odd occurrences that are happening to their healthy animals that are just wandering off the property by themselves. They just suddenly pick up and leave.
Right.
Electric fences just suddenly not working, and things exploding on their property just suddenly happens. And it's like, I have a new way of looking at the world. um, and it's sort of like, once you see it, you can't unsee it,
Correct.
which makes it
Absolutely.
very challenging, especially when I've been an empath, you know, so I was always seeing stuff that other people didn't see. But more, the motives, the individual motives of an individual rather than a collective horror show. I never ever thought of the collective horror show before. I didn't know what a Freemason was. I didn't know what the FBI did for a living. I've said this before on my channel. I have no idea what the CIA did. I actually bought a book before I was ready to move, and I was horrified at what I was reading about them. So I knew nothing about this evil that permeates our society. And maybe
Yeah.
like ignorance
It's
is
not good.
bliss.
It's almost like they're watching us and
Yes.
then they're making bets on what we're going to do next.
That is excellent. That is excellent, excellent. And they've already countered our moves because they're surveilling. They have been surveilling us for maybe decades, but certainly years before we were actually full blown overt. So they've monitored our mail, our families, the way we communicate, who we've hired, who we've spoken to. I mentioned this on my channel recently, like a junior high school, like one of my best friends from junior high school friended me on Facebook. So it's like, oh, Stephanie, sure. Well, I sent her a message, you know, how you doing? No response. And all this time, like, I'm keeping her as a friend, no response.
Yeah.
I deleted her. And I'm thinking, well, is she a perp? Was she set up to friend me, to look into what I was doing on Facebook, which I'm really not on Facebook that much anymore? Was she just an agent?
Right?
Did somebody
Like
go back into my history, to junior high school? My junior high school friends? You're kidding me.
they have the power to do whatever they want, which is also quite disturbing.
Yes.
And then they're a bunch of psychopaths because it is a psyop program.
Yes.
And but like you said, there no face, no case, right? So even though we're taking evidence, it's good that the military people have told you about the cloaking stuff, like I've said before, or you probably wouldn't have figured that out on your own.
Well, actually, when I moved here, and literally, I was sleeping in my car because I didn't have a house to live in. I had this house
Correct, yeah.
delivered. I was sleeping in my car, the top of the hill. I'm outside with my iPad, which they destroyed and then stole recently. And my cats are outside sitting with me. I hear a rustling in the woods, like right near where I'm sitting. I look up. I don't see anything. Not a bird, not a snake, not a raccoon, nothing. But my cats get up too, so it's not just me. You know, people will say, oh, well, you're hearing voices. I don't hear voices, by the way. I don't. They're doing something worse to me by they're doing it subliminally. Okay?
Yes.
So I get the subliminal tinnitus that's literally, they amp it up at night. They increase the sound at night. So, so my cats saw it too. My cats get up, they go over to the area, and they're confused and baffled. And so I spoke to a targeted person back then who says, beware of the cloaked people in the woods, and also that they will fake animal calls. Well, that's absolutely what happened. These women witches were calling each other over my property with pretending to be owls. Like, I don't know how an owl sounds.
Right? Yeah. You're like, that's not a real one. I've been alive long enough to know what the real owl sounds like. I've had that experience as well.
And the thing is, like, a lot of these people are significantly younger than me, and including in the targeting community. Although there are 80-some-odd-year-old still targeted people, still alive. So I'm in my mid-60s. So, you know, you could hear that these are females, and they're calling over my property. And actually, when I reported it to the sheriff's department along with other things, it stopped. I guess because I caught on to what they were doing, that it stopped. Every once in a while, I hear some weird animal, because they can project animals on my property. They can project the sounds of a bobcat, even though I do have bobcats across the street. I generally don't have them behind me, but lately, I believe that they're projecting bobcats in the back of my house.
Yes.
You know, they want to scare you. They'll do anything to scare you. Like, I had a coyote on my property. They let loose my neighbor's dogs to eat my chickens. They caught a pregnant rabbit, stuck it in front of my front door. The baby's still attached to her umbilical cord.
Wow.
They burned a hole in my cat's face. Then they burned the same hole in the side of my rooster, the same hole in a neighbor's dog, the same hole in a cat that I was caring for in the side. They're target practicing on my property. If I put my clothes out to dry on a clothes line, I'll take them back in. There's holes in them.
Yeah, it's disturbing. This program is disturbing. They ended up killing my cat. He was a 2-year-old Bengal, and they ended up giving him so much direct energy that it caused him to have leukemia. And so I ended up having to put him down.
I'm sorry. And 2 years old. That does not happen to a 2-year-old cat.
No.
So this is where, there is no plausible deniability. My cat didn't suddenly get a hole in his face.
Correct.
My healthy cats just suddenly, living inside of a building, don't come down with fleas, that they've infected the building with fleas a couple of years ago. The fact that I would go into my cat's building and suddenly there would be a dust, like I can't even tell you how thick. I recorded it, it's on my channel. That they sprayed some technology inside the building that has taken me, it's still in there a year later. Even with filters and airing out the building, and they just...
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either. When they do that, it's actually a type of metallic dust, I believe. It has heavy metals in it.
Yes.
And I used to have an air purifier and change out my air filters quite frequently at Forest Glen. And I pulled them out after maybe being in there a week, and they were completely black.
Black.
So going through the ventilation system is one of their favorite things.
It is. And to validate that point, when I lived in New Jersey, I was very obsessive about cleaning my air filter because I had cats. I had a house full of cats, and I was rescuing my feral cat colony to socialize them into my house, knowing that I was moving out of state. So I was cleaning my filter every month. You know, you didn't have to do it for 3 months, but I pulled out one filter, and it was totally black.
Yes.
What they were doing also, and this is how I know the firefighters are involved, you know, all the people that we respect. They were
Exactly.
coming in, and my newly cleaned fireplace, clean because my house was listed for sale, they were burning stuff in my fireplace to make it so bad that when I re-cleaned it, it never got as clean as it was the first time. So that's why my air filter, that was one of the reasons why my air filter was so filthy. They were burning stuff in my my fireplace. And then people say, well, why don't you get cameras, you know? So I've had every camera imaginable, including the hardwire. But if you leave your house and they break in, they can break into your hardwire system too, which is what they did do in Manalapan, New Jersey. I was out Christmas Eve with my family. Come back, the top stair of my staircase was loosened. They were hoping that one of us would fall down the staircase. And they hacked into my hardwire system then, that I spent so much money installing.
Yeah, so you spend all of this money on technology trying to
Yes.
protect yourself, and they can hack into it and surveil you from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, and just bizarre things. Like my neighbor next door in New Jersey would hide out in the shrubs so that he could pounce onto my porch and go into my front door and throw my cosmetics into the hallway. How would he get my cosmetics if he wasn't already in my house? You know?
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But here in Kentucky, I have these two allegedly like military grade guys cloaked on my property. If I go in one building, they're doing something in another building. And literally, I'll tell you what they do. I'll clean out both of my chicken coops. I'll go into my nonprofit building because I've got a 501c3 nonprofit, Cat Rescue, Freya's Cat Rescue.
Okay.
I brought 28 rescue cats with me and then brought 2 more back and then adopted a bunch more living here. So these were all feral cats that I brought here that I re-socialized. So I'll be in that building to vacuum and whatever, and I come out, and those 2 creepers on my property, that's what I call them, creepers. I don't even call
Yes.
them cloakers, they're creepers. They go
Yes.
into both of my chicken coops and totally mess it up. They start knocking everything down. There's no chickens in there. Knocking things down, kicking stuff out of the coop, my cleaning products all on the floor, throwing dust in there in the eaves and stuff, where all of everything in there is covered with this thick, pithy dust that I guarantee are not only harming my animals, but me. I'm the one that has to go in there and clean. So I'm
Yep.
inhaling this stuff. I'm touching it. So this is the way they infect you, your property, your animals. I've had drones. Am I allowed to say that word over?
Yes, you are, because they're everywhere, and that's part of the PSYOPs program that they have going on
Yes.
to intimidate people in
Yes.
thinking that there's going to be an alien invasion
I don't
or
believe
fake
that.
alien invasion, and
No.
it just isn't going to happen.
No.
Do you know who Dr. Stephen Greer is?
Yes,
Do you
yes,
Yeah.
I do.
So he says, yes, there are extraterrestrials living, but they wouldn't be doing what the government is doing to the people.
Exactly. I mean, I actually
Yeah.
saw a video, and it seemed real. It was from a very long time ago. I don't know if it was the CIA, the FBI. Somebody was interrogating an alleged alien. I actually felt so bad. It was horrible what they were doing to this creature. trying to get information about what would happen in the future of the world. And this alien, alleged alien, was being so benefic and being so tortured. And it was just the most horrible thing. One of the horrible things that I've seen on, on YouTube. But and not that they haven't existed before.
Correct.
I guarantee that our government can manufacture anything that they want.
Yes. Yes, they can.
Holograms, psyops. They've been doing it for decades and decades. And I hate to say it, they use psychiatrists, psychologists, and everybody in the, that profession, the healthcare profession,
Yep.
to war against us. And they did it in Stasi Germany. It's no different. The only difference between Hitler's regime and what's happening now is technology has advanced to off the charts, even that we're not even aware of. And they're experimenting with that technology not only on me, but on my property, because drones have deliberately come over my property, dropped stuff on the property called like a fungus, to cause my once beautiful grass to die out, become greasy. Somebody offered that it's kerosene mold, and kerosene mold actually develops in the engines of aerial vehicles, and they have to dispose of it somehow. And the military guy recently told me that what they're doing to my grass is also they're spreading glyphosate, which is a toxin. It's designed to kill the grass, kill everything for 6 months. It'll rejuvenate after 6 months, but and he showed me photos of his grass. It looks exactly like what they did to mine. So I appreciate the people that come forward, the whistleblowers that come forward and offer me this information. I can't mention the name, but this is, these are educated people. These are people that have been educated by our government, by our military, that have been targeted by the same people that are allegedly supposed to be protecting us. So I don't have faith in our military anymore, because they're being weaponized against us, against targeted people. What is that? They're trained to war against any enemies, foreign and domestic. Well, if we're all labeled domestic
terrorists, yes, we are.
Non-investigative subjects on the watch list, well, guess who they're coming after next? And they don't care. They're not being paid. They're being paid by the delete. I call them deletes. I'm sorry for the elites out there that think that they're special. I don't think you're special. I think you're psychopaths. You're all inbreds. You're psychopathic. You have personality disorder. You have no empathy. And you follow people like Kimberly and I because we're the empaths, and you want to study us because you're so confused that people could be so stupid to care about the human race.
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
Yes, they're studying us because they don't know, like, what's wrong with these people, they're thinking.
Because they care so much about humanity that they want to try to make a change and help people get past the PSYOPs program. But I completely agree with you. But I'm going to steal that term and use the delete.
They're deletes. So in two ways, DELETE, deleting something, and dull, DULL, because they are dull. Deletes.
Yes.
Have you ever seen one of these creatures?
They're on the mainstream media news, I'm sure.
They're everywhere. Yeah, I'm not going to name their names, but and they all create nonprofits. They want to appear as they're being so benefic. But
yeah, philanthropic. Oh, I know, because my stepfather owned a nonprofit company, and he would say, when I was talking to them, because I don't talk to them anymore, they were part of my targeting, but he was like, Kimberly, nonprofit is for profit. And I'm like, it didn't click until I figured out that they were basically trying to kill me.
Yes.
I mean, just like they're trying to kill you and
Yes.
every other living being on the planet that doesn't
Yes.
go along with their agenda, which is
Absolutely.
completely and utterly evil.
Very evil. I just wanted to introduce one terminology that I really want to make a little bit more mainstream, because
Okay?
it's not happening to all targeted people. It's only happening to targeted people and older folks and people who are set to inherit money. It's called real estate mobbing. It actually is a term. If you ask ChatGPT, it will tell you all about real estate mobbing.
Yeah, that's the first time I had heard asset stripping referred to as a real estate mobbing.
Yes.
So
Well, real
I
estate
will be
mobbing.
looking that up.
Yes, real estate mobbing. If you own property, if you own a house, if you own land, it's real estate mobbing. If you're living in an apartment and you're renting, it's not real estate mobbing. It, actually, back in the '70s, it was called block busting. Block busting
Block
has,
busting.
yes, it's a real estate term. It's been outlawed. And what block busting was is, let's say somebody wanted your apartment, but you were a little old lady and you were rent controlled. They would make that person's life miserable and force them to move. Then
Yeah.
after forcing them to move, they would either sell the building, by forcing all these people to sell the building, renovate it to a developer, or jack up the price by like 500% because it was previously rent controlled, and then they bring somebody new in that's paying you like $4,000 a month rather than $250. So it's called block busting in the '70s. It's outlawed now. You can't do it. But now they've got a new twist. Now with targeted people, they are mobbing us out of our homes that we own.
Correct.
They're going behind our backs to all the real estate people, bribing them, threatening them, coercing them, slandering us to them. Like my neighbors telling people that work on my property, literally they give it away because they're such morons. They tell my workers, if you continue to clean her property, you will be part of our lawsuit. Yes, if you continue to clean her property. And then for people that I do hire, they all tend to break down. Like their equipment just breaks down on my property. So they can't do what they were hired to do. Or they'll break something on the property. Or they'll cause something to fall, break, cause me more troubles than it was worth. So it's a form of asset stripping. It's a form of discrediting. They basically want to lower the value of your property to sell it to somebody that they want to sell it to rather than somebody you want to sell it to. So talk about coercive control. I bought this property with my money.
Exactly. So it was interesting that you say that because I was listening to Robert Kennedy Jr. and he was talking about BlackRock and how they are setting themselves up to own at least 60% of the real estate, and this is part of the program in order to get themselves to own more than half, and to where we'll own nothing and be happy, like Klaus Schwab says.
Yes.
And yeah.
Well, that could be like what happened with Maui. Could be happening with what's happening in California now.
That's correct.
North Carolina. What they're doing to my property here. But my property is for sale. So anybody that's listening to this podcast, I've got 64.6 acres of land. It's easily divisible. It is actually beautiful. I do not pay property taxes anymore because I'm over the age of 65, and if you're 65 and over and own 10 acres or more of land, because all the land here is zoned agricultural. It's all zoned agricultural, which is why Zillow is committing fraud. I'm going to say it out loud. Zillow, if you're listening, I'm coming after you. You better list my property, because other than that, then you're going to have to take off those 11 other properties that are listed for sale, some of which do not even have a residence on the property. They're just land. And
Yeah.
all the property here is zoned agricultural. It's 10 acres or more. And then they do it for the people so that they can get a tax break. So Zillow is telling me, no, we can't list your house for sale by owner because it's zoned agricultural. Well, it's not changed in 36 years.
I hope you recorded that conversation with Zillow.
Oh,
Or,
I have the letter. I do.
okay,
Yes,
yeah.
and I responded to them, and I have not heard back in about 8, 9 days now.
Yeah. I don't know. I would do like a targeted community on your property and have other targeted individuals who are working or that have the ability to work help you pay for the property and then protect each other. I mean, that's really literally where I see this going, being a targeted individual, is that we need to start getting in groups
Yes.
and know that there can be some perpetrators in a targeted community too.
Yes.
But I think that the majority of people that are targeted are sincere in their targeting, and then they have to know that people can be mind controlled too,
Yes.
to turn on you,
Yes.
like a rabid dog is what I
Yes.
refer to it as.
Yes.
But I don't know. It sounds beautiful there.
I do want to move because, I'm getting older in years, and I don't really need this much acreage. It's a lot of
Right.
work for me, and I think the targeting, although it will follow me wherever I go, I think
Yes, it
that
will.
it'll be more manageable if I have less places for people to hide. And and of course, moving from here, I'm not paying any property taxes now. I have, except for all the damage that they do here, I have no bills other than my gas, electric, my phone, food, my cats and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but that's what they do. The level of damage is so off the charts.
That it pays you so much to repair it, and yes, I experienced
Yes.
that too.
My water heater, I had to replace my water heater twice now in 5 years.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. It's not a coincidence.
Yes, yes. It's not a coincidence that my lamp shorted out twice, that I was sitting on my couch. I got zapped, and my iPad that was next to me blew a fuse. It literally stopped working, couldn't start up again, and I had burns on my ankles sitting on the sofa right here. And this was when I first moved here. There are loud bangs on the metal roof of my other buildings because they're sending radio frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that wherever I move, it's certainly going to follow me. I know that, but I think that if I reduce the acreage, there are less places for them to hide. They can ambush me from anywhere. If I'm on that side of the property, so let's say this is 14 acres here, 13 acres there, whatever, without the woods. So I'm walking over there to take care of that property. By the time I come back, somebody's been in and out of my house already.
Yeah.
It's craziness.
And you shouldn't even have to lock your door. But then it's like now you're making sure that you have
Exactly.
that you're covering your ass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even going to my mailbox. And other subscribers have noticed this, that when I go to my mailbox, there's always somebody driving by, that it's likely to distract me from the fact that these creepers, the two male creepers on my property, are doing damage behind my back while I'm at the mailbox.
Yeah.
It's insanity. But my mailbox is not right in front of my house the way it was in New Jersey, where that wouldn't necessarily happen.
Right.
Here, I literally have to walk like 400 feet. It's like a 3-minute walk to my mailbox. So by the time I come back, somebody's in and out of my chicken coop. Somebody stole my cat off of my porch a couple of years ago. It was horrible. Imagine
It is horrible.
the horror that an animal feels knowing that a cloaked person is scooping them up and they can't see them.
Yeah, it's disgusting behavior. There's no other word. It's disgusting and crazy. But they try to pin the craziness on us.
Yes.
When we're not the crazy individuals, because we would never do that to another
Never.
human being or living thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't like people. I mean, there are I have a laundry list of people I don't like.
Yeah.
You know?
I get the feeling. I know friends are few and far between because it's really hard to trust people.
Well, it's like, this neighborhood, I don't like anybody around here. But when I don't like somebody, I ignore you. I don't want anything to do with you. Why would I want
Yeah.
to talk to somebody that I don't like? You know?
Well, because
So
it's a waste of your time.
it's a waste of my time, and my time is valuable. So I don't know if I've answered like your questions or whatever. I just want to say that I feel like people have asked me, how has your targeting changed from New Jersey to Kentucky?
Okay.
It's changed a lot. The real estate mobbing, none of that's changed. The torture of my animals, none of that's changed, except the severity, I'm going to say. The
Well, because there's less people to watch them do
Yes.
the hideous crimes that they're
Yes.
doing.
They've stolen animals here. They never stole animals in New Jersey. They
Yeah.
would harm them.
If you had one piece of advice to give to listeners,
Okay.
what piece of advice do you feel is the most important?
I would say that the most important thing is to really keep an open mind. Not only
I agree.
keep an open mind because the technology exists that you have is off the charts. Even when I read some of this stuff, and I've bought tech books that I can't stomach reading them because it is so insidious, so evil,
Yes.
that scientists that we pay for with our tax dollars, researchers
Correct.
with our tax dollars, your tax dollars, are paying psychopaths to inflict this evil on humanity. The advice that I would give is keep an open mind. Secure your home as best as possible. This is a satanic agenda also. It's not only about asset stripping, it's satanic agenda. Please educate yourself about satanic ritual abuse and witchcraft.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
I think that is great advice because you do have to be open-minded
Yes.
in order to even wrap your head around
Yes.
this targeting program.
Yes, and lastly, and the powers that be going to hate me about this because I didn't know anything about Freemasonry. Really educate yourself on really what they do.
Correct. So my friend introduced me to the Committee of 300, the Club of Rome, and
Yes.
the Tavistock Institute.
Ugh.
And he said, he made me listen to the Committee of 300 first, and then I ended up purchasing the book. If you start there and then go to the Club of Rome and then the Tavistock Institute, then you'll know everything that you need to know.
Yes, yes, and then there's a video. I've got it on my channel. It's I forget his name. He talks about the secret religion and all the celebrities, the musicians, the actors, the actresses, the one-eyed people, the butterflies in the background, the MK Ultra butterflies in the background, the hidden
Correct.
hand, Napoleon, the hidden hand, and all of these symbols. It's for eyes to see. They think we're stupid that we don't see what they're doing.
Correct.
Well, this guy, I think his name is Atlantean. He was a singer on America's Got Talent.
Okay.
He created a 5-hour video on the topic.
Okay. Well, Skull and Bones is part of it too. The Bushes are
Absolutely.
part of the Skull and Bones gang.
Yes. Yes. And all the fraternities. The words fraternity, sorority, brotherhood,
Good.
the clubs, the what do you call it? The elk club. All those animal clubs,
Yeah,
It's
it's true.
they're all in it. But unfortunately, when people join in the beginning, they're not totally unaware of what it's about. They think it's just, it's just a club. We're going to fundraise and do good things. They're all being duped. It's all I can say is they're being duped.
Yes, absolutely.
And once you're in it, you can't get out of it.
Well, that's because they blackmailed them or made them do something in their initiation process to
Yes.
be part of this club
Yes.
or group,
Yes.
that they can't get out of it and
Yes.
are afraid of ruining their reputation. Why? These days, I don't know. I'd rather be a whistleblower if I were in under that circumstance than not to say anything at all.
Yes. Yes. So to summarize, yes, educate yourself. Be open-minded. The technology is way more advanced than you ever know. It's not just the drones in New Jersey.
It's a global agenda.
It's a global agenda.
Yeah.
And it's evil. It's just evil. And please believe the people, the targeted people that are being tortured in their homes. I've got bruises all over my body, and I'm like one of the most careful people on the planet.
Well, they can cause bruising with direct energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Directed energy, poisons, nanodust. And once it gets in you, they can
Manipulate it that way.
Manipulate it. So please keep an open mind. Listen to testimonies. Listen to testimonials from other people. That's very helpful.
Yeah, I agree. And it lets people know that they're not alone.
Yes.
And
so thank you
yeah.
so much for having this conversation and introducing about real estate mobbing, different than being living in an apartment.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I'm grateful that you came on and that you saw some of my social media speaking out against this program.
Yes.
And I wish you luck in selling your property and moving to a place that hopefully is less targeted and away from a cell phone tower.
Hard to find these days, but yes.
I know it is because they're everywhere, and people think they're cell phone towers, but I call them Gwen towers.
Yes.
Because they give off radiation.
Radiation.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And you could hear them. You could hear the drones in the background. You could hear a humming in the sky.
Yes, I've heard that before too. Do you have a Geiger counter? Have you ever used one? Yeah. I have a bunch of videos where I took a Geiger counter to read the radiation in my environment. And at a certain point in the condominium that I lived in when I was real estate mobbed, went off the charts, just went off the charts. And I'm like, I better sell this or I'm not going to be alive to even help people get through this.
Absolutely. Just a question, what did it take for you to sell? How long did it take for you to sell it while they were mobbing?
It wasn't very long, probably a couple months was all. But the first offer that I received was a lowball offer, and I'm in the real estate title industry, and I knew it was a lowball offer, and it was from someone that I know in the industry that does this to people, and so I can't say that he is not part of this program.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they actually let you move quickly.
Yes, fortunate for me that they did, but thank goodness.
Yes.
But I still need to move out of the state.
Yes.
I plan on moving as well as you, so hopefully we'll end up somewhere where we can then have some other targeted individuals around us to help.
Yes.
Turn the program around. I would love to make them feel the way that they make us feel, right?
Absolutely, even for a day.
Even for a day, let's live in the life of a targeted individual for a day, and let's see how you do. Most of them would probably lose their shit. I don't think a lot of people have the mental fortitude to go through this program, which I think is also one of the reasons why we're targeted.
I believe you're right. Yeah, it's been at
Yeah.
least 12 years now. It's it's I actually also learned how strong I am.
Right?
You
You
know?
do, though. And you are incredibly strong and courageous, even for coming on the show and for speaking out the way that you do.
Thank
So,
you.
so that, in my mind, now we're targeted survivors. We move past the point of being a targeted individual to being a targeted survivor.
Yes.
Because then now it's our duty, I feel like, to help other targeted individuals become targeted survivors.
Yes, absolutely. Good point.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your podcast. It's so professionally done. Very pretty, very nice.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you again for coming on. I'm going to stop this, and then we'll continue our little conversation.
Sounds good.
So, because it's got to take a minute to upload.
Yes.
So if I close out of it right away, then I don't want to lose it.
I hear you.
But yeah, I'm sorry that you're going through that, and to do anything like that, like to an animal, like deliberately put a hole in it, or the rabbit,
Oh.
I would have like lost my shit probably.
I had just moved here. I just moved here. I was living in my car for 6 weeks at the top of the hill, then moved into my house a couple of months later. And a couple of months after living in this house, there was the rabbit out in front, cut in half, pregnant, with the umbilical cord attached to the babies.
That is satanic right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I want people to be educated in this. A lot of other targeted people say, oh yeah, well, I found dead animals. I said, you don't understand. Targeted individuals, I should have said this on your show, but I'll tell you, and these are my theories too.
Okay.
There are multiple overlapping theories that we're paraphilia for these people. They get off sexually. Various different kind of paraphilias, meaning like a fetish. Okay, that's what a paraphilia is, a fetish.
Okay.
So we're a targeted individual are a fetish for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different people. They get off on it for sadism and masochism and selling our stuff. But we're also being ritually abused. We are their sacrifices. We are their gifts to their god, Lucifer.
Yeah.
And each time that they steal one of my animals, harm one of my animals, they are doing it for a ritual reason. Like,
Yeah.
my cats just don't suddenly pick up and walk away.
No, not
Okay.
especially if you're saving them and then feeding them and,
Yes. And,
making them unferal. I
and
forgot what you called
along
it.
the lines of what happened to your cat, your 2-year-old cat. They were both about 4 years old. They were sisters.
Uh-huh.
They gave my 2 healthy cats, they had been to the vet for a checkup. They gave one cat throat cancer and the other cat nose cancer, where her nose got so red and expanded like 3 times the size that I had to put them both down because they were in such excruciating pain.
Yeah, so I will probably do a solo cast at this at some point, but
Yes.
but the hospital corporations of America and the veterinary centers of America, or any vet or any hospital, are all part of this program.
Yes. Yes.
They want to get you in there so that they can jab you or your pet with something to cause cancer, because
Yes.
the whole plan is depopulation, and they only want their selves and their bloodlines of the 13 bloodlines to survive, even though I think that our DNA is better than their DNA.
It is.
Because it's more pure. It's not evil.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And if in the future you ever decide to discuss how they target us through their animals, through their pets, even farm animals.
Yeah.
That would be a topic I think that will be very repulsive to people, but would also educate people what to look for in their pets and their farm animals. This is happening to
Actually,
farm
that
animals.
would be a good one. Can you speak to that?
I certainly can.
Okay, good. Yeah, we should do one on that, I think.
Yeah.
This is what happens
Yeah.
when they're targeting your animals. These are the signs to look for, that kind of
Yes.
thing. That would be awesome.
Yes, and also when I was living in New Jersey, I had a phone consultation with a Dr. Stanager. A lot of people have different views on her, but she gave me a very good consultation. And she's also a cat lover. She actually
Okay.
wrote a book on cats and gave it to me. Of course, I don't know where it is in the move, but when I described to her what was happening with my cats, she didn't even have a nanosecond to think about it. She said they are torturing you through torturing your cats because you love
Correct.
them. And unfortunately, they will end up, unaliving a lot of your animals as a torture to you. And they did.
Yeah.
Since living here, 28. I brought 28 with me and then brought 2 more and then adopted a whole bunch more. Well, they killed 28 cats. Poison, stolen, burn holes in, infected. And unfortunately, I do have videos of some of the cats.
Yeah, I took videos of my cat too.
It's horrible.
And I think keep doing it. Eventually, this has got to come out, and I'm hopeful for humanity, because without hope, I feel like we're fucked.
I hear you. Just as a side, this was very hopeful. The Institute for Justice, which is a group of lawyers that are a nonprofit,
Okay.
You can hire them if they take your case,
Okay.
and if they win your case, they get some of the proceeds. So they won
Yeah.
a recent case against the Pasco County Sheriff's Department. Evidently, enough people contacted them that they were being targeted repeatedly. Unwanted police visits, unwanted pulling over of their children, surveillance and stuff like that. Well, it turns out, after hiring the Institute for Justice and suing the Pasco County Sheriff's Department, it came out. They disclosed that, yes, they were secretly placing innocent people on a list.
Yeah.
A government list without due process. And they said that they were determined to shut it down. So in the comments section of one of their videos, I said, this is not happening as an isolated incident. This is happening in
Correct.
every sheriff's department across the country.
Correct.
So I think perhaps maybe if we can form a group of people and contact them. I've been wanting
I
to
think
contact
so.
them.
I think something needs to happen. Maybe I'll send out an email, or maybe you can send the information, and then I'll forward it to people that have been on my podcast prior to you coming on.
Yes.
And to some of the friends that I met at the Targeted Justice rally last August, when I went there, and we rallied out in front of Shrivers Air Force Base and Lockheed Martin, because Lockheed Martin's running the satellites.
Yes. Well, I think what was I going to say? They won. They weren't aware when they filed the lawsuit that there was some illegal list. But they won based upon the violation of their constitutional rights.
So they went the civil rights approach.
Yes. And they won on a couple of counts there, and then a lot of all this other stuff came out. So yes, they won on that. And then I've mentioned this before because the lawsuit is sealed, but this is from memory. The eBay copper stalkers, there were two retired police officers that went to work in the eBay security department. Well, evidently there was an eBay seller that was talking negatively about eBay, so they decide, these two security people, along with a whole bunch of other employees, to target this couple in Massachusetts, sending them dead pigs, cyber stalking them and stuff. Well, I'm going to fast forward. They hired an attorney. These targeted people were able to hire an attorney. They actually had an FBI agent provide testimony against the officers on behalf of these two people who got it aired on national news. And they won the lawsuit. And in the lawsuit, they won on cyber stalking. It wasn't on targeting. It wasn't on vandalism. So there was one constitutional right and one on cyber stalking. They won.
Interesting.
Yes. So
it's like, I think a lot of people don't know what their civil rights are, and I had to learn really quick. And I'm like,
yes.
My stuff's being violated all over the place.
All over.
Yeah, but it's too bad that we couldn't win on being a targeted individual from a lawsuit. And then you even have to introduce yourself to what are the laws, what kind
Yes.
of,
Well, and the thing is that because when you FOIA request them, they send you this pat response back that we cannot confirm or deny that you're on a list in the name of national security. And, if there's an investigation that's been going on for 50 years, we haven't come to a conclusion yet.
Yeah, none of this is okay.
No.
So hopefully, I'm going to start following you though on your channels, and then when they publish this podcast, which will probably be about 6 weeks,
Yes.
I'll make sure that your handles are in the bio of the podcast, so that other people can see you and follow you
Great.
on your social media.
And I'll do it also. I'll piggyback that. Yeah.
Okay.
So now it will take 6 weeks for them to process this?
Usually it takes them about 6 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, that's a long time.
Only because I don't have as many guests as what we need to run them through faster.
I hear you.
And so then by the time they finish up yours, I'll have done one or two more, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you so much for having me on your show. And hopefully we'll do something in the future about the pets, animals.
Yeah, I want to do that for sure. So we could probably get that scheduled now. When do you think you'll be moving?
I have no idea. My property needs to be relisted. Right now it's on for sale by owner and on land.com.
Okay.
But it's not on Zillow because they took it off.
Right.
So I'm probably going to have to get a realtor. I'm going to have to get it listed. But we've had all this snow, and I'm not going to list it right now. List it right now, other than what I already have out there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I will let my team know, and then I plan on getting out of Salt Lake Shitty. That's what I call it, Salt Lake Shitty, as soon as possible. So it might be a couple months before we're able to do that, but I'll let them know we want to do a follow-up on animals.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Stay strong.
Thank you.
We got this.
Yes, and hopefully this recorded. I keep getting this message that you're not being recorded. So
I'm gonna look. It looks like it's up.
Okay.
Yeah, it says an hour and 8 minutes.
Okay.
So I'll let you know, but
Okay.
I think it should be fine.
All right. So should I just sign out? Like how I don't want to disturb something.
I'm just gonna have it in session for all.
Okay.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. Have a good day.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.